Welcome ladies and gentlemen to the 34th installment of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links Best Deck series. Today I've got a special episode for you guys showcasing the first of the 3 Egyptian god cards to be added to Duel Links, the Winged Dragon of Ra. So just before the video starts, I'd just like to mention this deck is not going to be a competitive deck, it's going to be a more fun deck. Basically the best possible deck I could build to try and make the Winged Dragon of Ra viable. It's more going to be like a 50% win rate deck, it's not going to be a high win rate deck or a particularly low one. But it's not exactly the best deck for climbing or anything. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so the best character for this deck is Taya Gardener with a skill Life Cost 0. What this skill does is it can be used if your life points are at 1000 or below. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, you do not have to pay life points to activate a card. This skill can be used once per duel. So why is this the best skill? Basically, if you look at this skill lined up next to Ra's text, you'll notice they kind of align. Basically, as soon as you activate Ra's ability, it will decrease your life points down to 100, which will proc the first ability of your life cost 0, which needs your life points to be below 1000, which allows you to then not have to pay life points for the rest of the turn for any card's abilities, which includes Ra, whose ability needs you to use life points to destroy your opponent's monsters. So they pretty much line up perfectly with each other. The only downside to this skill in particular is if Ra's abilities do not proc on the turn you play him because your opponent steals it with an enemy controller or something like that, and you end up only getting to use Ra's ability once, you cannot use life cost 0 again. It can only be used once per duel. So basically you use it on the turn Ra is summoned. If it doesn't really work out, then you're a bit screwed. Alright, now to go through the deck list. This deck contains 1 Winged Dragon of Ra, 3 Ra's Disciple, 3 Deep Diver, 2 Crystal Seer, 3 Double Summon, 1 Different Dimension Capsule, 3 Draining Shield, 1 Windstorm of Etaqua, and 3 of a kind. So the first thing I'm going to say is I only have 1 Different Dimension Capsule, hence why there's only 1 in the deck. I normally think this deck should have 2 Different Dimension Capsules, and I would take out one of the Deep Divers for one of them. That was the only actual change that I think is needed to the deck though. If you need any replacement cards, you don't necessarily need Windstorm of Etaqua, just put in whatever you like, just put in another Crystal Seer, or even just, I don't know, an enemy controller or a Karibo or something. Just anything to kind of stop your opponent's attack if you want it. And Draining Shield can be replaced with Enchanted Javelin, although that is considerably worse. And that's basically it for the changes. If there's anything else you want changed, just ask in the comments below. I'm sure I'll be able to find a suggestion. Also, if you've got any other recommendations for this deck list on things that I've missed or things that I could put in here that would make that combo really well with Ra, let me know. I'm quite happy to discuss in the comments about what potential changes could be made and how to improve the deck. Alright, now I'm going to go through the strategy of this deck. The strategy for this deck is pretty simple. Basically, you've got a bunch of search cards to search for your Ra's Disciple, your Double Summon, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. You can then play your Ra's Disciple, which will then spawn 2 more Ra's Disciples out of your deck or your hand. Activate Double Summon to summon the Winged Dragon of Ra on top. So the Winged Dragon of Ra is basically your win condition. What the Winged Dragon of Ra does, if you are not aware, is when you summon the Winged Dragon of Ra, it will give you the option to reduce your health down to 100, and every bit of health you just lost, it will add to the Winged Dragon of Ra's attack and defense points. So you end up having, normally, on average, a 3,900 attack monster on the board. Now, using the first part of Ra's effect allows you to proc your ability, which requires you to have less than 1,000 life points, as your life points will be at 100. Which then allows you to activate Ra's secondary ability, which normally costs 1,000 life points, but because of life cost 0, it doesn't cost anything, to destroy as many monsters your opponent has as you like. This then leaves their board completely open for you to swing at them as much as you like. Alright, now I'm going to go through each card in the deck and talk about what role they have in the deck and basically how they work. But first I'm going to start with 3 of a kind, because this card is probably the most powerful card in the deck just after Ra. What 3 of a kind does is it allows you to destroy 3 cards your opponent controls as long as you have 3 monsters on your side of the board with the same name. And the 3 monsters on your side of the board with the same name will be Ra's Disciple. Basically, if you didn't have 3 of a kind in the deck, you would find winning games to be a lot harder, because every time you try to summon Ra, your opponent will just use any of their backline spells to stop you using its abilities, such as enemy controller, or just anything in general just to stop you doing anything when you try to swing at your opponent. Without having 3 of a kind on the board, game becomes a lot more of a struggle to try and win. Alright, so the deck has 3 search cards: Crystal Seer, Deep Diver, and Different Dimension Capsule. What Crystal Seer does is it's a flip effect card, so when you place it face down, you allow your opponent to attack it, it will flip. This then allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and add one to your hand and send the other one to the bottom. This is a very quick way of drawing the card that you want to make sure the hand that you get is more built around what you would like. Although unlike the other 2 cards, it won't give you the guaranteed card you want, a lot of the time it's a lot better to use as it is instant, whereas the other 2 are not. The next card is Deep Diver. What Deep Diver does is when it is destroyed by battle, during the end of that battle phase, you can then search for a monster card and place it on top of your deck. So the reason this card is so good is once it is destroyed, you can then add your Ra's Disciple to the top of your deck if you're missing that, or you can add the Winged Dragon of Ra to the top of your deck if you're missing that. Because if you don't have either of those in your hand, you're not going to win the game, as that's your win condition. Normally it's better to grab the Winged Dragon of Ra to your hand with these search cards as soon as possible, as getting Ra's Disciple to your hand will be a lot easier since there's 3 of them in the deck, as opposed to Ra where there's only 1 of them. And the third search card in this deck is Different Dimension Capsule. What this card does is it basically allows you to choose 1 card in your deck, remove it from play, and the second standby phase after you using this, your second standby phase, it will add that card to your hand. So basically you just wait 2 turns and it will give you your Ra's Disciple, your Winged Dragon of Ra, your double summon. Even if you have all 3 of those and you just want your removal, like your 3 of a kind or a draining shield to protect your Ra, you can get whatever you like. So this is probably the strongest of the search cards, but it has a pretty strong downside in that if, whilst it has been activated and is just sitting on your board and is destroyed, the card you've just removed from play will not come back. So if you removed your Ra from play to try and add it to your hand and they destroy your Different Dimension Capsule, you no longer have Ra for the rest of the game, so you basically just lost. Alright, so the next 3 cards are the combo cards. I've already spoken about Ra, so I won't talk about him again. Double Summon is super simple. You activate it, you can then do 2 summons during the turn. Not really much else to say about that card. And Ra's Disciple is also pretty simple in how it's used. Basically, you summon, whenever you summon Ra's Disciple, you can activate its ability to then summon 2 more Ra's Disciples to the board, whether they be in your hand or in your deck. Doesn't matter, it will just bring them out and put them on the board. I've already spoken about 3 of a kind, so I won't go through that again. And the last 2 cards in the deck are Windstorm of Etaqua and Draining Shield. Windstorm of Etaqua is in the deck basically because it's one of the best cards. It's like one of the best cards in the game in general. Whenever your opponent swings at you with 3 monsters or 2 monsters, whatever it is, as long as you have a Windstorm of Etaqua on the board, you can just activate it and all of those monsters become defense position and you don't have to worry about them for the rest of the battle phase. So this card can protect your life points for an entire turn, which is why it's so powerful. The reason it's in this deck in particular is because quite often when you don't have your Ra's Disciple or your Winged Dragon of Ra in your hand, you need to keep delaying the game until you can, and you don't want to take a bunch of life points damage, otherwise your Ra will have no attack. So Windstorm of Etaqua was in here so that before you've summoned your Ra, you can protect your life points. It could even be used after you've summoned your Ra to protect your Ra. And the final card is Draining Shield. Draining Shield is really powerful for this specific deck, as it allows you to protect your Ra by negating an attack. It allows you to protect your Ra's Disciples before you summon Ra in case you don't have a double summon by negating the attacks. Plus, any life points it gives you can then be added to Ra's attack when you summon him, or be given to your life points after you've summoned Ra so you can further proc more abilities. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention about Windstorm of Etaqua is its other primary use is if you don't have double summon in your hand and you need to keep your Ra's Disciples alive on the board, you can just activate your Windstorm to protect them. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for the talking part of this video. After this there'll be just 3 gameplays of me playing the deck and showcasing how it works, showing all its cool little effects and Ra's animation. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment if you have any questions that you want to know or any suggestions for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.